Good afternoon, good evening. I'm not sure why I went like that then. That's all a bit too much, wasn't it? Hi guys. I never know when this starts. I know that StreamYard says you're now live, but I never really trust it for some reason. But I think we're live. I think we're live on YouTube. So thank you if you're joining me already. I can see we've got some people already in the chat. As always, I'm not going to look at the chat just yet because I want to waffle on a little bit about a few things today. But please put any questions you've got for me into the chat box. It's what brings these live streams alive. I'm not doing myself down with this. I'm doing that typically British thing where I'm a little bit self-effacing by saying, "You guys make this what it is," but you genuinely do. And I think last Friday, was one of the busiest live streams I've had on this channel. So thank you if you got involved in that. Thank you if you watched it afterwards as well, because it's performing very well. But the questions, as always, were fantastic. And they were particularly fantastic last week. So there might be stuff that I talk about now in a moment that kind of sparks questions from you. But equally, you might just have genuine general questions about stuff to do with content creation or my business, or as it's Friday, anything you like. Just ask me a question. But yeah, stick them into the comment section, please. And we'll get cracking, I think, pretty much straight away. Because what I want to talk about today is this, which looks horrendous. I think we're generally taught that line graphs should go that way. This one is very clearly, well, the solid line anyway, is going that way. I'll explain what that's all about in a moment. Just very quickly, a very quick bit of housekeeping. If you haven't checked out my Substack newsletter yet, please do. Every Friday, I send out a written version of this. Really, it's me talking about the behind the scenes stuff of being a YouTuber. I do increasingly. I'm treating that as it's a bit of a cathartic thing for me now. It's become almost like a memoir that I'm writing every Friday, and like a journal, if you like. That's the word I was looking for. I get something off my chest each week, and hopefully it's interesting. Hopefully for anyone who just has, you might just have an interest in how this stuff works, or equally you might have a desire to get into this yourself and follow in my footsteps, which is a horrible phrase, but you get the point. And I think you might find it interesting, and it's completely free, and you can unsubscribe if you hate it, so that's fine. So the link for that is down below. Also down below is a link to the completely free Solo Club Discord server. This is all linked to the new academy. So the Creator Academy, which is coming in January next year, is now available, is now open for registrations. And we've made the decision to open up the Discord server completely for free. There are some private sections in there, which sounds strange, but there are some private sections in there for Academy members. But if you just want to get on and chat to some lovely people in there who are lovely, and I do occasionally dip in myself, then go for it. The link is down below. Okay, that is the housekeeping done. Now, as I mentioned, I want to talk about this, which firstly, let me explain what you're looking at here. So this is the last 3 months worth of Google Analytics data for markellisreviews.com. And as you can see, I'll tell you what, let me come on to that in a moment. The first thing I want to talk about before I'm going to keep teasing you with that little graph. I want to give you a very quick potted history of markellisreviews.com, which is a website I can show you. Hopefully you visited it at some stage. I hope. If you haven't, I won't hold it against you. But this is it. So this is the website for the Mark Ellis Reviews brand. I created this myself and designed it and made it and put it live completely on my own without any help whatsoever, apart from the logo, about 3.5 years ago now. And I've done nothing with it since, apart from add content to it and occasionally tweak the head, the menu and various other little bits and pieces. But the general makeup of the website and the navigation, the way that blog posts are displayed it's me. It's all my work. And also, I've never spent a single penny on it in terms of SEO. So search engine optimization, SEO as we call it. He says we as though he's an SEO expert, which I'm not, as you'll come to find. But I've not spent a penny on it. And I think I've even done a live stream where I've talked one of these live streams where I've talked in detail about this website and kind of had it as almost as a bit of a feather in my cap that I haven't spent the money on it, that I've somehow achieved moderate success with it by doing it all myself. And I'd like to offer an apology for that because that was a bit short-sighted. I genuinely believed it at the time, but equally, I think right at the back of my mind, I was very conscious that things were almost too good, and I was definitely riding a bit of luck. People who are watching this now, you might be involved in web design, or you might be an SEO expert, you might work for another, a big publication online, and you'll probably be sitting there laughing at me, but I wouldn't blame you. But for me, this website completely took off. So it got to the stage where it was regularly pulling in every single day anywhere between 4 to 5,000 unique hits, which was a big deal for me. Again, for a single a content creator working on his own, having built this thing himself, it was a bit of a feather in my cap. But like I say, I knew I was riding a wave. So I've had basically probably 3 or 4 very big hitters in terms of, blog posts on here that have done very well on Google. One of them was to do with the iPhone 13 mini battery performance. Another one was a review of the Remarkable 2 tablet. Some other Mac-based stuff, how to it's the reason the 8 or 16 podcast is called 8 or 16 is because I've had a lot of success with a piece of content on this website, which helps people choose between 8 or 16 gig of RAM on the Mac, on the M1 Mac. But all of those pieces, none of them were SEO'd. I wrote them. It was all genuine writing. It was all clearly relevant. It had keywords in there just by chance, really, or naturally, I suppose. And the title I thought about. I put a meta description in. I put meta tags behind the images with keywords. But that was it. I didn't do anything else. And that has been doing very nicely for about, like I say, in terms of, when I say nicely, I mean nicely in terms of growing audience and revenue for the last 2 years, really. Certainly the last 18 months has been very positive in terms of um, revenue generation because it has ads on here, as you can see, which I'll get onto in a moment. However, as I mentioned a moment ago, I was very conscious that I was riding a bit of a wave with this, and my experience in business has always told me that at some stage those waves disappear. They crash, and you are left on the beach, without a paddle. That's not the right phrase. You know what I mean? Basically, that wave ends at some stage. So I was conscious this was going to happen, and I think it's happened. Basically, the reason it's happened, I think, there's lots of I thinks on this because we never know with this stuff. But I think it's related to Google's recent helpful content update, or unhelpful content update, as some people have brilliantly called it recently. Um, I don't know the full ins and outs of this. I'm not an SEO expert. If you are, you can get involved in the comments here and give people a better explanation of it than I can. But in Google's own words, um, this is what the helpful content system is trying to do. So this is direct from Google. They say Google Search's helpful content system generates a signal used by our automated ranking systems to better ensure that people see original, helpful content created for people in search results. Basically, it's for you and I, people who use Google, presumably. It's designed to give us the right content at the right time, and that content is supposed to be very good. They don't want to serve as rubbish content that is just fishing for links, hits, and clicks and affiliate revenue. They want to give us good stuff. So I'm all for that as a user of Google. Yes, please, 100%. The problem with this is that this helpful content update, they did one last year as well at about the same time of the year, which I had no idea about, funny enough. I only found out about this recently due to this one, but last year they did the exact same thing, although from the sounds of it, it was a smaller, less cataclysmic update. But this time around, it's been huge. Whatever they've done has had a vast impact on a huge number of websites. And a lot of SEO experts are saying it seems to have impacted what they call niche sites mainly. So sites like mine, really, where there's a singular topic. It's not a broad news site or anything like that. It's something very specific that the website is kind of focusing on. It seems to be those websites that have been hit massively. And conversely, sites with a lot of user-generated content like Reddit and those sort of sites and Quora, etc., they have exploded, or they exploded briefly when this happened because clearly, or presumably, Google was looking to promote that sort of content. while getting rid of what it deemed to be unhelpful content. So mine, for some reason, fell into that latter bracket. And that is the result of it, I think. So if we look at the analytics, and again, I have to say, I think with this because none of us know what Google's doing ever, apart from the people at Google. The people who sit in the meetings about the algorithm and work out what to do, they know what's going on. And the people that program this stuff, we don't. So we have to make educated guesses. They will only tell us so much. But you don't have to be Sherlock Holmes, guys, to work out what's going on here. So we can see this red line, sorry, the blue line, which you can see here. You can't see my mouse. Oh, you can. There we go. The solid blue line here is the last 30 days of users getting to the website this year. The dotted line is the same period last year, the same statistic. So as you can see, and as I mentioned, growth-wise, the website has been doing fantastically. I've seen this lovely growth year on year. However, we get to the first sort of couple of weeks of October, well, the first week of October, and it literally falls off a cliff this year. Whereas last year, it was still growing. It did drop off a bit there, to be fair. There's a bit of a correlation there, which I'll come on to in a moment. But there's no denying, guys, that this is a huge drop in engagement. Engagement, but mainly visits to the website. Huge. And this does seem to tie in with when the helpful content update had finished. It took about 2 weeks to roll out. Apparently, these things are big changes to Google, so they kind of, I guess, they stage the rolling out of it. This is roughly here where it finished. So bang, there goes your traffic mark, Ellis reviews. Goodbye, see you later. Now, since then, there's been a little uptick. You don't see it on this report, but over the last 2 or 3 days, I've seen things go up a little bit. And as I mentioned, there is a bit of a correlation here with last year, that we did seem to have a bit of a dip. So the optimist in me looks at that and says, well, maybe that's down to the tech industry. Maybe, and we are in a bit of a lull at the moment. We've had the Google Pixel, we've had the iPhone stuff. There's no new iPads, as we know. There's no new Macs probably until next year. People are saving their pennies until Christmas. Maybe it's just the tech lull. That is a bit optimistic, I think, and I don't want that to be something that I hold on to, because I can't. I don't know what you think, guys. Let me know in the comments, but or the chat rather. That's a big drop. It's fairly obvious what's happened here. I think. I think Google has spotted my site, and they've kind of said, no thanks. And you know what? I don't blame them at all. And this is for several reasons. The first reason is, firstly, before I get into the problems with the site, I think what is encouraging about this is that everything you read about the helpful content update is that it is targeting sites that are basically set up to regurgitate content that you can find elsewhere, probably in better form, and just to use that content to get affiliate links in there, to get sponsorships, etc., etc., etc. It's not designed as a genuinely helpful site. These sites they're looking for are the ones that have been around for quite a while and just have mediocre content that is designed to sell clicks and ad space. Now, I do that to a degree, but my content is written by me. There are pieces on there written by Max, who's my staff writer, but also we're doing some AI stuff now as well, which I'll come on to. But the vast majority, the 95% of the content on there at the moment is written by yours truly, and I think it's quite helpful. It's, I mean, you may not agree, but it's made to be helpful. And it's genuine, it's fresh, it's new, it's based, more importantly, on real world experience, and it's designed to help people make the best buying decision. So in theory, if you look at that and you look at the way that the Marketers Reviews brand has grown on Google, in theory, we're set up to benefit from this helpful content update, but we haven't. And I think the reason we haven't, or one of the main reasons, is the website itself. And I've been alluding to this really. I haven't spent any money on it at all, apart from hosting. I've not spent any money on this at all. And this is now coming to bite me. The first problem with it is that if we look at the homepage, the first thing you see above the fold, which is a very old term, but it means it refers to the newspaper industry, where you'd sit. The first thing you'd see on the rack, when the newspaper is sitting on the rack, that first thing you see is the thing that either makes you pick up the paper and buy it or not. In digital terms, this is above the fold, and it's just a massive advert for my latest YouTube video. not much of use to anyone who looks. It's certainly not of any use to Google crawling this site and thinking, well, what is this site all about? It's just taking me to YouTube. Below that, we've got an equally huge advert. He says, there we go, equally huge advert for the, oh, hang on a minute, everything's going wrong. Equally massive advert for the podcast, 8 or 16. Again, I mean, now the more I look at this, the more embarrassing it is. Massive, huge. We then have an ad, and then we have the latest blogs, and it's just a list of all the blog posts, the most recent blog posts. And then below that, we have Find Me on Medium, podcast. Again, embarrassing. And that's it. There's nothing. There's so much stuff missing from this. Firstly, we don't need those two great big sections there. Secondly, who's behind this? I know that some guy called Mark Ellis. I presume that's him, but who is he? And why on earth should I trust any of this stuff that's here? Why should I? And equally, what is this website about? You know, I think right at the top it says, where are we? If we just go up. Sorry, my mouse is playing it for some reason. Tech reviews and tips for normal people. Great. And then in the header, we've got, for the menu, we've got YouTube channel, blog, newsletter, solo club, contact, and then a magnifying glass, and the logo. There's no kind of iPad reviews, Mac content. There's no categories in there. There's no indication of what this site is all about. So the homepage, terrible. The other thing that's missing is an About Us page. I mean, how long have I worked in digital media and known that About Us pages are quite important? I haven't even got one on my own website. So there's nothing here. No About section. There was ages ago, and it got deleted for, I can't remember why, but I took it off. Stupid idea. But yeah, no About page, nothing. So those two things immediately, I've listened to loads and loads of podcasts about the Helpful Content Update, and all of the experts are saying you need a homepage that has social proof, that has proof of who you are, that looks like a business website rather than just a list of your latest blog posts. I've got that wrong. They also say you need an about page. You need something on the website that illustrates who you are with some original photography of you, links to your social profiles, which should be active as well, etc., etc. That isn't there at all either. The other thing, and this does need some explanation, is the ad setup on markellisreviews.com. And some of you watching this may even have been in touch with me about this, because over the last 3 years, well, over the last 2 years, really, 18 months, let's call it. I'll get there in a minute. I have had a few emails from people, loyal readers, who have been very lovely about it, who have got in touch and said, we're enjoying your website, we enjoy what you post on there, but can we just tone down the ads a little bit? And I completely understand why. I mean, if we look at this, there's a banner at the bottom that stays there. There's another one here which shows the same ad. There's one on the right-hand side. Then we get a pop-up video, one of my latest videos that pops up. That's technically an ad as well. And then throughout the blog post, there's this duplicate ads there for some reason, etc., etc., etc. It's a bit of a mess. You have to close that if you want to read it. And if you view this on a Mac with not much memory, thankfully this one does have quite a bit of memory. If you have an 8 gig M1 MacBook Air, for instance, it will kill that laptop if you use this website in Chrome, in Safari rather than Chrome. It will destroy your laptop's resources, which is slightly ironic given my main area of expertise. So I'm going to close it because it's just horrendous. Now I've known it's been horrendous. I know the user experience has been terrible, and I hold my hands up about that. And anyone who's got in touch with me via email, I hope I've replied to you and I've said, I know it's not great. I really know it's not great. However, I am a businessman as well, and I need to make profitable stuff to keep the lights on and to keep making free YouTube videos, basically. That's what it all comes down to. And I don't mind sharing the numbers with you at all. The website, based on these numbers here, this good period here, ignore that total revenue figure. That's not where the revenue comes from. I use a service called Monumetric, who put those ads on the website for me. It's a mixture of Google ads and some other sources. But up until now, the kind of monthly revenue for ads on markellisreviews.com varies between $1,500 to $2,000 a month. Now, I defy anyone in that position to say, no, I'm holding on to my integrity. I'm taking off all of those ads. I'm not taking that money. You wouldn't, trust me. If you were running a business that needs to be profitable, and like I say, the end game is to get free, helpful, fantastic YouTube videos into the public domain, you'd have kept that as well. having said that, it's always been on my mind that I need to improve that site and need to get away from that reliance on ads. And although it's not been proved, but a lot of SEO experts are saying that the helpful content update has the other thing it's done is shine a spotlight, or certainly show the back door, exit stage left, to websites that have a bad approach to ads. And that is a bad approach to ads. Even though I'm giving Google money by having these ads on there, it's not a good user experience. And as I mentioned ages ago in this conversation, Google wants to serve the right content and make sure it's good content as well. It has to have a good user experience. That the page has to load quickly. The content has to be easily accessible, easily readable, and it's not on marketersreviews.com. So I've ridden this wave of nice revenue, nice recurring revenue, which doesn't require much input. The reason I kind of lived with that and didn't enjoy living with it, but lived with it, is because it was very profitable. I was publishing once a day, if that, and it was making that kind of money. So hands up. Like I say, I do think. I mean, I'd love to. If you wouldn't have done that in my position, I'm not being facetious. I'd love to know what you would have done differently. But I think most people running a content business, would keep those ads on there. And indeed, it's why you see such heavy ads on newspaper websites and a lot of tech websites as well. A lot of tech news websites have very heavy, very, very heavy ad platforms for that reason. So, where does this leave us? So basically, let me have a drink of coffee. Hello, if you've joined us. Again, we're looking at some very good numbers today. These Friday live streams do seem to be working. They seem to be growing with the audience-wise, which is amazing. So thank you for coming on. I've got the coffee today. It's not a beer, as it was. Was it a beer last week? Or I don't know. When was my birthday? 2 weeks ago? I think it was. It was a beer then, but it's a coffee today. So, all this kind of came to a head last Sunday. I woke up and did the thing that you should never do, which was, I do it every morning. I looked at my stats, and obviously as part of that, I looked at the web stats for marketersreviews.com. And that cliff face had just really made itself known by that point. And I got really depressed about it, really angry about it, angry at other people, not other people, but angry at other things, angry at Google, angry at Monumetric for the ads, angry at everything else. And just thought, I was not a very happy person at all last Sunday morning. And then I got out of bed, and I thought, for quite a short period of time, that I was depressed and angry, but you get the point. I got out of bed and thought, no, I need to do something about this. And I've always done this in business. I've been through some fairly crap times in business. Some pretty terrible things have happened. Not so much in this one, but certainly in other businesses I've worked in. And I know that whenever that happens, and with personal things in my life, I've spoken quite personally about stuff on this live stream before, or certainly on Solo Club videos before. Some bad things have happened to me in the past, and whenever that happens, I go into solution mode. I get angry about it and depressed about it for a bit, but then I go into solution mode because it's that age-old thing. You just have to look in the mirror. I could blame everyone else for this, but as I've just illustrated, it's all down to me. All of this is down to me. I can't control what Google does with its algorithm. They change it daily, weekly, whatever. I can't influence their decisions, but I can react to them and build a better business off the back of it. And what this helpful content update has done, it's revealed two things. It's revealed, firstly, that I was right about riding this wave. I was right about this being too good to last for too long. That's quite a good thing, because it means I've got some intuition that seems to work. The second thing it's done is prove that there's a massive opportunity here, because again, going back to what I said a moment ago, the helpful content update seems to suggest that the Mark Ellis Reviews brand is well placed to benefit from it, because that is what it's about. It's about offering genuinely helpful content to people to help people save money and buy the right thing. So in theory, we're set up to do well out of this, but we have to have the right platform for it. So on YouTube, we have the right platform because it's YouTube. That's the fantastic thing about YouTube. You don't have to worry about the ads. You don't have to worry about the design, the delivery, anything. It's all done for you. All you have to do is make the right content. So I've kind of proven the brand, it works on there. It works on Medium, although that's another topic. But in terms of building an audience on there, if we put what Medium has done to one side, it's built an audience on there that seems to enjoy what I provide it. So everything's set up to work apart from the website itself. So what I did on Sunday morning after I'd kind of dusted myself off and thought, right, now let's get this sorted. I grabbed my laptop, went down to the local coffee shop, and spent 2 hours writing a very rough strategy on what I wanted to achieve with the website, where I wanted it to go, the things we need, or the things I thought we needed to do and buy in, and the help we needed basically to make it a better website. The day after that, on the Monday, I had a meeting with my general manager and my staff writer, and we came up with a plan, which is now being put into place. And that plan is really exciting, actually. The first plan is a completely redesigned homepage. So what you see, what I showed you a moment ago, that is going. That design is thankfully disappearing. There'll be a much better, much more SEO tuned and also user focused homepage. That is coming. The second thing is there will be an about us page. We will actually have an about page on there about me, because that's quite important. And then lastly, the content strategy is going to change. Now, I'm not going to change how I write for the site at all. That's not the point of this at all. In fact, the point is that I carry on writing as me, because that's what we're assuming that's what Google wants. It's certainly what the audience wants, I think. So that won't change at all. But some of the stuff I write about might change slightly. And the SEO part of those blog posts will change. So Max, who works on this, who's an SEO expert, far more knowledgeable than me, he will be working on those posts and making sure they have the right keyword density and all of the meta description stuff. Everything behind the scenes, all the technical SEO will be put into it properly this time. I'm properly investing in this because it's someone's time doing this. Images, there'll be more images, more original imagery, although it's all original imagery at the moment, but we'll be adding more stuff in, more infographics and that sort of stuff. And then we'll be introducing more writing from not just from myself, basically. So Max, as I mentioned earlier, he is doing some writing for Markerless Reviews. He has been for the last few months. You may not have seen it, but he writes some really interesting stuff about AI and future tech and all that sort of stuff. He's very interested in that, and he's been contributing already. But he'll be doing a bit more. Some other people might be as well. If you're interested, by the way, if you want to contribute to markellisreviews.com, I'm interested. Get in touch, mark@markellismedia.uk, and we'll have a chat. But yeah, bringing potentially more writers in. And we will be leveraging AI content, which, shock horror. But what's interesting is if we go back to that statement by Google, we just stop sharing that really depressing image. So the last part of that statement where they're talking about the helpful content system, they say they want to ensure that people see original, helpful content created for people in search results. So originally that wasn't the sentence. The sentence used to be helpful content created by people for people. They've removed the by people thing because clearly Google has accepted the fact, as we know, that AI is incredibly important and it's not going anywhere. And there's some fantastic uses of AI in content production. It can't replace me at the moment. Hopefully, maybe it can. You might disagree, but I don't think at the moment it can replace that human element where you're following someone whose work you enjoy. You know, a line of code can't replace that. What it can do is fill in the gaps. So, although you might want to read me talking about what I think about the next version of AirPods Max, for instance, you probably don't want to have me waffling on about how to charge your Apple Pencil 2 or the differences between the Apple Pencil 2 and Apple Pencil 3. That's a fairly generic article. I could add a bit of spice into it, but who cares? You just want the answer, basically. So, and the Markerless Review site at the moment has none of that content. It has none of that evergreen content, really. There's one or two things that we've written in the past which have done quite well, but we haven't put the time into. We will be doing that now. And we will be leveraging AI content to do that. That doesn't just mean getting AI to write it and then post it. AI will be basically delivering the bare bones of the article, and then Max polishes it up, makes it more human, and publishes it. And we do it that way because that saves time. And again, going back to the whole thing about this being a business and needing to be profitable, that is a much more profitable way of doing it. The first AI article, funnily enough, went up today, which I'll see if you can spot it. I haven't published today on there, so it's quite obvious which one it is. But anyway, have a look at that and see what you think. So that is kind of what's happening. I'm just looking through my notes to see if there's anything else that I can tell you about what we're doing. But That's it. It's a very it was a very, worrying, and it still is a concerning time, because this is a drop in audience, it's a drop in revenue, but equally, it's an exciting time because it's finally put the, boot at my what's name, and it's pushed me to do something which needed to happen. And because I'm now in this mindset of building the business out and having help, and investing some of the money that I've made into getting people to help me and getting systems to help me, it's happened at just the right time. So it's very exciting, but it has taught me two lessons. Well, it's kind of confirmed two lessons for me, really, which will be very useful for anyone looking to follow my footsteps and do this kind of thing. The first thing is that you should never, ever, 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 ever rely on one form of content production, or sorry, one platform on which to publish your content. I read an article recently by someone on Medium, a lady on there who was a full-time Medium writer apparently, and she has been really badly hit by the Medium changes, and she's been depressed about it. It's raised her anxiety levels, and it's made her question her self. A horrible article. I mean, horrible in terms of what she's gone through with it. But all I could think while I was reading it was, why didn't you have more than one source of income? Why didn't you have one? Why didn't you have more than one outlet for your work? Because clearly you know what you're doing. You've got an audience. People like you, but relying on one audience, one platform is so dangerous. If I'd only been relying this year on Medium and my website, I may not be stood here talking to you, because I'd be thinking, I need to start a new business. The fact I've got the YouTube channel, which within itself has lots of different revenue streams, and the fact I have two YouTube channels now, one of which, Solo Club, has an academy link to it and some other things. I have a buffer in terms of stuff that's coming in. So that's again, this confirms in a very stark way, a very explicit way, you cannot rely on these platforms singularly at all. They do things, they change things, and we could put all this work into this website, and it's going to be a long. Don't get me wrong. This is going to take a long time to get done. It's a long game, this, but we could do all this stuff, and they could then have another helpful content update, which goes back to what focused on what we were doing before, and actually the website from 12 months ago would have worked again. You can't predict this stuff, but you have to. But again, that's why you have to have lots of different platforms that you're on. The second learning is something I've always been very passionate about, is having a war chest in your bank account. And again, I've always been very open about this. I do have a war chest, basically, and I built it up over a number of years, and I maintain it as much as I can, because I know that one day I might need to pay the mortgage and money may not be coming in. That may happen. Everything might go wrong one day. If that does happen, I want to make sure I can still pay the mortgage and feed the family. And equally, I want to make sure that I can still, when things like this happen, and we do have dips in the revenue somewhere in the business, even though elsewhere revenue is good elsewhere. I want to make it very clear, actually, that I'm not on the breadline now, and in terms of the business isn't falling apart. Thankfully, because of the way I've approached it, things are very good elsewhere. But the other thing that I've always wanted is to have enough money in the bank, basically, to, like I say, to feed the family, do everything if no money's coming in, and still be able to invest in the business, still be able to have people help me get systems in place, and keep the lights on in the studio, basically. So don't rely on one source of income and one platform, and two, make sure, if you're going to go into this seriously, have some money behind you. That's the hardest thing, actually, because it involves saving. It involves not investing money in things for a while and building up this pot of, like I say, like I call it, a war chest, because you probably, in fact, you definitely will need it at some stage. I think this year has proven that for me 100%. The writing side of this business has taken a real hammering over the last 6 months, really, and it's been it hasn't knocked my confidence, but it's because I know I'm a good writer. I know I can provide very good content in that form. I've been writing since I was about 12 years old. I love writing, but it's taken a hammering on behalf of the platforms I've been using. So it's a real lesson. It's a real sort of harsh lesson. Right, let's dive into your questions, guys. Another quick slurp of probably cold coffee. As always, we have our regulars. Hi, guys. Hi, Jakob. Hi, Malcolm. Malcolm Owens back in the house, as they say. Alan, Mark Gilroy, Mike, Johan. Fantastic. Guys, hit me with some questions. I think we've got some questions here already. Alan says that he's in the car, so can't chat much, but have a question coming up. Listening to me in the car. I hope you're just listening to me, Alan. I'm sure you are. I got really told off by not many people, but 2 or 3 people on YouTube not that long ago when I did a certain section of a video was done in the car. I basically had a DJI Osmo Action 4 in the very securely placed on the windscreen. I was driving, I had both hands on the steering wheel. I was paying attention to what I was doing, but I was told off by 2 or 3 people to basically, they told me to never do that ever again. We like your videos, but please don't ever drive and film yourself. To which my response was, have you ever seen Top Gear? Have you ever had a friend in a car and spoken to them? I'm getting on my high horse now. Anyway, totally off topic. Let's find a question. All right, Alan. So Alan wants to make a PDF guide similar to your Medium one, but on a different topic, weight loss. Do you have any tips for software to use to make the guide? How to do the payment gateway, etc. Thank you. Sounds like quite a good guide you're going to make there, Alan. That's a huge audience for that. I mean, that's something which, in terms of a niche, it's massive. So, in terms of the software to use, you see, my PDF guide, which is the Medium guide, which does need updating actually, based on what Medium has done this year. That I wrote that, I think, from memory. I wrote it just in Ulysses. I write everything in Ulysses basically. What I then did, I didn't make the PDF myself because I knew that it would take forever, and I know, having done it myself previously, it's a pain in the backside getting the formatting right. And also, if you want to do it for different formats, so if you want to do it for PDF and Kindle, EPUB and all that sort of stuff, you can't just have one format that fits them all. You have to do some clever stuff, basically. So a long way of saying, I would pay someone, go onto Fiverr or something like that, and give them the draft manuscript with a few examples of what you want, and let someone else do it, whatever it costs you. I mean, don't spend too much on it, but even if it's £100, for someone to do a quick and dirty version, do it. You'll spend way too long faffing about with it, I think. I know that when I paid someone to do mine, I can't remember how much it cost me. Wasn't that expensive, but he did it. It came back and we started selling it, and then immediately 2 or 3 days later I had emails from people saying it's great, but it doesn't open properly on my Kindle, so we had to go back and change it and what have you. So whoever you get to do it, make sure they know how to do different formatting. And in terms of payment gateways, the quickest way of doing this, and just to get it out there and get it sold, which is what I did, is to use Gumroad. I know you said Gumtree. That's something very different in the UK. That's like a Friday ad thing. Gumroad is, they take quite a bit of money. They do quite a bit of the cut of the sale. They increased that not long ago, which annoyed a lot of people, understandably. But Gumroad is it's just, they've got the platform. Get it on there, get it sold, and then see how it goes, basically. I hope that helps, Alan. Malcolm, no laughing. I know SEO is so Malcolm does know this because Malcolm writes for a big tech publication. I know SEO is a pain. Having sat in meetings with external SEO firms, it can drive a person to alcoholism. Hasn't done that with me yet, thankfully. But SEO is it's a pain, but it's a pain, I think, if you don't understand it. And I hope you take that the right way, Malcolm. But I don't fully understand it, which is why it's a pain to me. It's why it's something I don't fully approach with the right mindset. But it's a real skill. I know quite a few people who are search engine optimization experts, and they know their stuff, and they've spent years and years studying it and doing all the normal stuff all the normal stuff that you do with the skill, making mistakes, learning, and doing all the hard work. So I think, thinking back to when I did that live stream where I talked about the website and said, you don't need to spend money on SEO unless you really want to, that was just a bit short-sighted of me, I think. I think that was doing that industry a bit of a disservice. So yeah, apologies if you're watching this and you work in SEO and you watched that and thought, what's he talking about? You had a point. So, but again, that's hindsight, isn't it? So yeah, SEO, it's all good fun. Malcolm, 1,500 to 2,000, if not necessarily Stella, is still pay someone to help me out money. More hands is always helpful. It is, Malcolm. It's a lot of money. I think that the key thing with it, rather than that looking at it as a turnover figure, it's incredibly profitable, that amount. Sometimes it would go above 2,000. I think towards the end of last year, it kind of pushed into 2,500, I think. It's a lot of money. You can't sniff at that at all. It's someone's wage, actually. It's a wage that you could pay a full-time person. So, again, as I mentioned earlier, if by all means, if you would turn that money down, out of, wanting to have a fantastic user experience on your website, you wouldn't have a business for very long, I don't think. But I'd love to know why that would be the case. And again, I'm not being facetious with that, but yeah, as Malcolm says, it's decent money. Mitch is calling in from Tampa, Florida. There's always someone from Tampa, Florida, or somewhere in Florida, which makes me feel insanely jealous. Particularly, and we haven't spoken about the weather yet, have we? Hi, by the way, Mitch. I don't think you've been on before, Mitch, have you? If you have, apologies. We haven't spoken about the weather yet, which is unusual because I'm British. It's horrendous at the moment. I think it was horrendous last week as well. Last week's over there, this week's over here. Oh God, the weather's just horrible. Wet, windy. It's not cold. I'm actually wearing shorts still. I have a thing every year where I wear shorts for as long as possible. So I start wearing them in April probably, and then it gets to this time of the year, October, November. I'm still wearing them. I do not want to wear jeans or anything like that at all. I want to keep my shorts on for hold on to the lingering summer for as long as possible. And today was one of those days where I was thinking, this is pushing it, Mark. But I'm still wearing. I'm still doing it. I'm still wearing the shorts. What am I talking about? Jasper, curious, did you code your website from the ground up using HTML, CSS, or JavaScript, or did you use a drag and drop website maker? It was the latter. I use it. It's based on WordPress. Although I'm not a web designer, I'm very familiar with WordPress. I've built quite a lot of websites in WordPress. I'm not a coder at all, so I know the absolute tiny basics of HTML. I can get myself out of trouble if I need to, but I certainly don't know CSS or JavaScript at all. So it was all done via, if you're interested, the Avada theme in WordPress. The design of the website isn't that bad, actually. I think if you go into the blog posts, you might think differently, but I'm personally quite happy with it. I don't think that is the issue. I think that the issue is the homepage, the lack of an About Us section, the ad setup, and the navigation. It's those bits that need serious work, really. Callum is on board. You always feel like you get here late. At least you're here, Callum. In fact, you're only 37 minutes in, so that's not late at all. As you may know, Callum is a member of the team on the Solo Club Academy. Speak to Callum if you've got any questions about the Academy. He probably knows more than me. But you'll meet Callum in the free Discord server. So again, if you want to click the link down below and meet Callum and lots of other nice, lovely, friendly people who want to get into this content creation game, click that Discord link. And like I say, I'm on there as well. Just answered that one. The new SpiderMan game is released today. Cannot wait to play. I'm not a gamer these days. I'd have got excited about that 10, 15, 20 years ago. I just don't play games anymore these days. I'm one of those, a bit like an ex-smoker. I'm an ex-gamer, insofar as I find I don't find that sounds terrible. I didn't mean it like that. I don't find gamers annoying. I find the gaming industry annoying now because the games are just so massive, so huge. And I know there's been a growth in indie games, particularly around here. You might be interested in this actually. Leamington Spa, which is where I'm not from there, but I live in Leamington. That's a real hub for game development. Sega are based there and a few others. We've got Codemasters just down the road. You'd never think it, and you've probably never heard of Leamington Spa, but it's a hub for game innovation and development and all that stuff. So a little fact for you there for Friday. But yeah, I just don't play games anymore, which means this sort of stuff I don't get excited about, I'm afraid. But I'm glad you're excited. I'm sure it's going to be an awesome game. Mark's getting involved in answering questions here, which is cool. Mark's saying that he uses PayHiIP. I've heard of PayHiIP actually, to successfully sell some digital products. They take care of all the VAT stuff. Oh, perfect. Anything that takes care of VAT stuff. Tax if you're in the US. Yeah, free to list as well. If it's free to list, even better. It's free to list on Gumroad as well, but try both. Why not? Mark also says that ConvertKit lets you do this and change it to your mailing list. ConvertKit is great. I use ConvertKit for the Mark Ellis Reviews newsletter that goes out every week, and it's been, touch wood, rock solid. I've never had a problem with it in over 3 years, so definitely recommend that. Am I making a video on the new Apple Pencil? I will be doing something actually, yeah, even though it's a complete non-starter as a product. I say it's a non-starter, it's quite an important product actually. I did write about this earlier in the week. If you don't know that there's a new Apple Pencil, well, firstly, there were rumors that we were getting new iPads this week. So everyone was getting very excited about a new iPad mini or a new 11th generation iPad, a new iPad Air, all this stuff. And then the day when that was supposed to happen came, and we got an Apple Pencil with a hidden USB-C connection. That was it, and without any wireless charging and lots of other things it doesn't do. So it was a bit of a disappointment in that respect. But in terms of content creation, it could be a bit of a gem actually. So I'm going to be working with my general manager Niall on this, and we're going to have a think about what we can do with that when it comes. I think it's early November they ship. So I'll be doing something with it. It won't be a full 12-minute review, obviously, because people have lives, but we'll do something with it. When YouTube pays you in, is the amount after tax and other deductions, or do you have to declare taxes yourself to the UK tax authorities? I have to be very careful with this because I'm not an accountant. I don't take anything I say about this sort of stuff as read. I can't. I'm not offering financial advice. I have to say that this differs per country. From what I understand, and as I say, don't take this as read. This is just my understanding of it. Google and YouTube, they basically, it depends on the tax treaty agreement that the US has with, because obviously the US is where YouTube is based, that the US has with your country of residence. So with the UK, there is a tax treaty. I'm sure it's got a tax treaty in place where we have that with the US, and basically, from what I understand, again, the tax is kind of grabbed at the US end, and the money that I receive from YouTube, I don't then have to pay the US government for, because that's all been done at their end, I think. This does work, obviously. My explanation of it is probably terrible, but the money that comes into my bank account has already been taxed by the US, I think. At that point, though, it's income for me, so I do have to pay tax on that in the normal way. It's still income. I have to create an invoice for it, which is then filed against Companies House, etc., etc., etc. So hopefully that makes sense. But like I say, please don't take any of that as read. I'm not the person to give you the kind of be all and end all advice on that. But YouTube is very good with this. If I can set up that thing, you can. Anyone can. So they're very good in terms of giving you the help that you need to get all that set up. Richard, hi Richard. Sorry if this has already been asked. It hasn't. What do you use for SEO? So as I mentioned earlier, nothing. I've never used anything for SEO apart from intuition, which is a stupid idea. What we've done though, since we've made this decision to get serious about marketersreviews.com, we've signed up with Ahrefs. So Ahrefs is an SEO tool that gives you really detailed information on your website performance, but also it gives you access to keyword planning, and it gives you insight into what's trending, what isn't trending, what your competitors are doing, all that sort of stuff. So we're using Ahrefs for that, but there's lots of other different things. You can use SEMrush and various others as well. Mitch, so you typically listen later. Well, thank you for coming in live. I mean, I don't mind when you watch it. If you watch it later, as long as you've watched it, that's great. But no, thank you for coming on live. But like I say, we do seem to be getting an increase in people coming on. I was a bit worried that the Friday time of 4 p.m. wasn't ideal, and I know it's not for a lot of people. I know if you're based in the States, I'm not. I'm based in the UK, so for me, 4 o'clock on a Friday afternoon is relatively easy to do because I haven't done my work, but you get the point. It's the end of the week, and I can finish this and then go home and spend time with the family. And I have tried doing this later on. So I've tried doing it at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and it wasn't much different actually in terms of the attendance. The only time it was a bit better, weirdly, was when I did it on a Saturday morning. That was a very well attended one. But again, I can't do that every Saturday. So it's finding a cadence with this. And at the moment, this seems to work. But yeah, Mitch, thank you for getting on there. Just answered that one. Let's have a look. Jakob, what about moving welcome messages on Discord to separate room? I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Jakob. But that's a question probably for the reason I don't know is because your man Callum is the person to speak to about that. So maybe Callum could answer that one. But guys, please do jump into that Discord server. It's I love Discord. The community that you can build on Discord is second to none. It's amazing. Richard says, I don't really know why Apple brought out that new Apple Pencil. It appears to be a waste of time to me when the other two are so similar. I think the main reason for it, Richard, is to give people who have bought the 10th generation iPad, it's to shut those people up and shut people like me up, really, because the annoying thing with that iPad was that you could only use the first generation Apple Pencil, which meant you had to have that ridiculous charging setup where you got if you wanted to charge the Apple Pencil 1 with your 10th generation iPad, you had to have a cable with a lightning to USB-C adapter. It looked ridiculous, and it was ridiculous. So I think it's a stopgap for that, really. But you're right that there's some similarities, and if you don't know your stuff with this, which a lot of people don't, understandably, a lot of people just don't care. They just want an Apple Pencil. You've got 3 to choose from now, and it may not be obvious which one to go for. So, but that is the Apple way. They do create some very weird buying decisions in their product lineups. Malcolm, I reluctantly was told to write prep articles for 3 possible iPads, and yet I had to quickly pull together Apple Pencil posts. Oh no, that sounds horrendous, Malcolm. So you had to you put all that effort into writing. I'm lucky. Am I lucky? I am lucky compared to that. I just write stuff when things have happened. So, but I know that in your case, you would have to get that stuff prepped just in case. This is the problem with Apple. They're so, and not just Apple. There's a number of tech brands that we cover that don't tell you what they're doing until right at the last minute or after the fact. And if you're working on a big tech publication, and who knows, the changes that I'm making to my website, there's a likelihood that we'll have to get a bit like that ourselves in terms of having things ready. It's a risk, isn't it? So you have to take a calculated risk. Well, hopefully you can reuse those, Malcolm. Maybe that would be like an obituary. When they create obituaries for famous people that are just waiting to be released when the terrible thing happens. Maybe you can just do that with the iPad. That's a terrible. I don't know why I use that as an example, but here we go. Johan is an accountant. So listen to Johan, please. Do not listen to me. So Johan says he's an accountant in the UK. You don't need to worry about the YouTube income for VAT, but still declare and have it taxed for personal income or company income. I think I said that, but I didn't say it in anywhere near as coherent or fast way as that. What am I talking about? Thanks, Johan. Please come on every week and do the accountancy bit. Makes sense about the taxes. Good. You do live in the UK. Well, that's fine. In that case, it applies to you as well. Whew. Glad we got that one right. Any more questions, guys? We've got another 8 minutes really before I have to shoot off and go home. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I can tell you about behind the scenes stuff. What's happened recently? Anything interesting happened recently? Not really. It's all been about this writing stuff, to be honest. It's all been about the writing part of this business. And I had an email from someone. I don't know if they're watching this now or watching it in the future, but someone emailed me after because I wrote about this on Substack this morning, and someone got in touch and said, in fact, let me just find their email because it did put a bit of a smile on my face. I don't know if it was supposed to put a smile on my face, but I did find it quite amusing. I won't share who sent it because that wouldn't be fair. Where is it? Let's have a quick look. Talk amongst yourselves. Yeah, so they replied to my, like I say, me talking about this really. And the first sentence of this reply, of this email says, all this hustle will just get to you. Maybe it's just better to get a job and let the CEO worry about everything. Hang in there. Remember that unless you become a personality, creators are a dime a dozen. Anyone can create content just like you and be your competition. And then the slice of the piece is big, which is why you're just making ends meet. I'm not entirely sure what that was referring to, but as I mentioned earlier, I do want to make it very clear, I'm not making ends meet. Things are fine. I'm not going to disappear. Things are very good in terms of revenue, actually. It's just one thing that's happened. I did take slight issue with the point there that anyone can create content like me. I think I replied very nicely and said, look, there's nearly 20 years of experience that has gone into me making this business. And the way it's grown is because I've put a lot of effort into it. I've put those 20 nearly years of experience into the business. And also I'm consistent, I'm hardworking, yeah, all that stuff, basically. The point being, anyone can create content. You can pick up your phone, shoot a video, and get 1 million views in 3 days if you want. If you do the right thing at the right time. There's a big difference between doing that and doing this and making a massive thing out of it, a big business out of it, a big engine behind it that makes what you're doing profitable. There's a huge difference between that and just doing that. There's nothing wrong with just doing that, by the way, but if you want to become a profitable content creator and make this a business, you have to approach it with a business mindset. So yeah, that was worth mentioning. Do I read many books? Not enough. I used to read a lot. I read a lot as a kid, but it's been one of those things in my adult life that has always tailed off. I've gone through periods where I've read quite a bit, or I've listened to a lot of audiobooks, but I always seem to then fall off the wagon, if you like. And I'm trying to once again, get back into reading. I'm reading a book about it's called The Key Person of Influence. I think I can't remember the guy's name who wrote it, but it's all about stepping back from the business, stepping back from the weeds within the business, getting your hands out of the weeds and doing the influential stuff. Which has been very interesting. That has really helped me in terms of the whole outsourcing thing that I'm doing and getting people to help me. That's been really useful. But I need to read more. Really do need to read more. It's all about the pencil now, isn't it? Do you think the new pencil signals a change to the iPad mini layout to move the camera to the side like the iPad 10? 100%. Yeah, I think all the iPads going forward are going to have that, as they should do, really have the camera where it should be. Definitely. What do you count on right now in your income streams as a content creator, and what will be covered by Solo Club, and what will be in the next version? Lots of questions there, Jakob. So what do I count now in my income streams? So there's ad revenue, there's affiliate income, there's sponsorships, there's AdSense, which I count as a different thing, really. There's Patreon. What else is there? There's digital product sales. There's there's a little bit of consultancy as well. What else have I left out there? That's mainly it, I think. And so, occasionally there is licensing, so selling content rights to people to use. So what's that? 8-ish? It's probably more than that, but I'd say probably 7. Let's say 7 regular forms of income, regular streams of income. And when you say what will be covered by Solo Club, the purpose of Solo Club in terms of a revenue generator is a little bit different to Mark Ellis Reviews. It shares the same desire to get sponsors in, obviously, and to make some money from AdSense. But the main thing with this business is to sell consultancy, but not so much one-to-one stuff, more en masse in terms of the academy, etc., and digital products. Selling ebooks and courses and Notion templates, all that stuff. That is the purpose of Solo Club, really, to build a small community that is very engaged and trusts me enough to invest in the stuff that I can help them with, basically. Mike, at the end of today's email, I spent most of Sunday morning feeling rather depressed. So this is at the end of my email from this morning. This is my Solo Club Substack newsletter, which Mike is quoting from. So in that, I said, I spent most of Sunday morning feeling rather depressed. I headed to a coffee shop and spent 2 hours writing a new strategy. How do you pick yourself up like this? Don't get me wrong. I'm using the word depressed. That's not right. I'm not clinically depressed. That's a very different thing. I'm not making light of that at all. It's not the best word to use. That's my fault. Sorry. I was just down about it. I was just feeling grumpy is probably the best word about it. I wasn't a nice person that morning. I was grumpy and miserable and quiet and snappy and all that sort of stuff. So I just got into myself really about it. In terms of how I pick myself up after that, I just get real. I just think, well, I could carry on being like this, or I can do something about it. And again, this comes from experience, really, and having had things to happen to me in the past, and having gone through. I think I've said in the past, I spent 16 years at the same business and went from being on the support desk up to board level. Becoming a board member and a shareholder. And it was without going into too much detail, it was a tumultuous journey, and the things that we did as a business. And I was complicit in it. Obviously, I was a board member. We made so many wrong decisions, and we didn't have the strategy in place, and the result of that was just firefighting constantly. It wasn't an enjoyable thing to be doing. There were some great times, don't get me wrong, but the majority of times weren't. So I've had a lot of experience of this, not wanting to go to work or wondering how on earth we're going to get our head out of something or fix something or whatever. So yeah, when I go through that grumpy phase, and then I just think, okay, I've got two choices here. Either I can pack this up and go and work for someone else again, which I don't want to do ever again, or I can do something about it. It's all in my control. That's the best thing about this. All of this stuff is in my control. I don't have to ask someone's permission to make a change to the homepage on the website. It's entirely up to me. And because I have help now, I've got people I can give those jobs to who can do a much better job than me. So I think it just takes an hour or two. And also when I sit down and do that kind of thing, open up a Google Doc and start writing and putting stuff down, all this stuff comes out. Again, it's a very cathartic experience. And although it's a very rough plan, it's a plan, and you can start working through it and you can share it with people. And that's kind of how it works. That's kind of how I do it. I watch your videos on a regular basis. No doubt that you give 100%, even on a bad day. I'm not sure about that. Thanks for sharing your knowledge with us. That's lovely. Thank you for a lovely comment. Yeah, I'm not sure I give 100% every day. I try to. I think we all do, don't we? We try our best, but we all have off days, basically. Key Person of Influence is a brilliant book. Yeah, I can't remember who it is. Google it. You'll find it very quickly. Very, very interesting piece of writing, though. More stuff here about accountants. Yeah, Mark's saying there's all sorts of other quirks you might need to consider. Declaring gifts, for example, over a certain value is really important. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. Like I say, I'm not an accountant, so please do not. This keeps happening. She stopped now, but that was Alexa again. She did that last week. Or was it? It might have been the Sonos one last week. Anyway, yeah. Speak to an accountant. Get a great accountant and get a great bookkeeper. They're the two things that I've learned over the last 3 years. And now you have prepared a nice video intro for Solo Club. Did I? So brilliant. So I can cut something. I've said something fairly useful from the sounds of it a moment ago. So maybe we'll just cut that, Jakob, and yeah, use that as the intro to Solo Club. I don't know what I'm talking about half the time on these live streams, so it's reassuring to know that I'm saying something that makes sense. Right, I'm just looking through the questions, guys. We've got another. We haven't really got any more minutes. Just another quick request for questions. Hit me quickly if you want to. Don't literally hit me, obviously, but yeah, pop a question into the chat if you've got one. I'm just quickly looking through to make sure I didn't miss anything, because I hate the thought of missing questions. I think I caught all of them, actually, from the looks of it. That makes a change. Did I get? Yeah, I did. Good. That's a very nice offer, Johan. Thank you. I might tap you up on that myself. But yeah, lean on people like Johan, because for finance and money stuff, it's not worth making mistakes with that ever. Oh, one more question. Here we go. Awesome name, by the way. Any plans for a live on the reviews channel? Or can we ask advice/opinions here? Really good question. I have done one live, actually. I did my first ever live stream on Mark Ellis Reviews just after the iPhone 15 announcement. Went really well. We had, I think, at the peak, we had 310 people on in terms of viewers, not guests. Huge number, massive, huge amount of engagement. The video did very well afterwards as well. I had Patrick Rambles and Alex Gear and Tech and Rob from the podcast on, and we loved it. It was a really good, fun experience. I'm toying with the idea, absolutely. I'm not sure what to do. I quite like the event reaction things, but it's working out how to do other live streams, I suppose. I quite like the idea of just a general Q&A, possibly. I might just do that, maybe give it a go. In the meantime, though, you can ask questions here. I've always said for these live streams, they're very much, let's keep it solo. Let's keep it solo club. Let's keep it content creator type stuff. But I do occasionally get tech questions, and I'm happy to answer them, so that's fine. Right, guys. I'm heading off now because it's Friday. I need to spend some time with the family, and yeah, and then crack on with this exciting plan for the website. So hopefully this has given you some inspiration today. I hope it hasn't been glum at all. It's just been a reality check for me and for anyone who's looking to get into this. These things go wrong sometimes, and we have to work out ways to maximize the opportunities that those bad things, that, the bad things that happen create, basically, because they do create opportunities. And that's the one thing I will end on, is that whenever I've had a big issue to deal with in not just business, but in life in general, things have always worked out better afterwards. Sometimes it takes a couple of days for things to get better. Something better may happen later that day. It may equally take several years. Whatever happens, though, it always gets better. I can't think of a single time where something bad has happened and then it's got worse and worse and worse and it's never recovered. That isn't really the way that life works. If you get back into your positive mindset and do things that you can influence, things that you have control over. So that's what I'm doing. That's what I hope you guys can do as well. And yeah, I'm going to sign off now, guys. I'm going to end the stream. And yeah, have a wonderful weekend. And I'll catch you hopefully next week. Cheers, guys.